spook easily startled.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
Kimberly, look at me.
Oh my god.
What did you see?
There's gonna be a huge accident. Everybody's gonna die.
Being alive after we were supposed to die, it caused a rift in Death's design.
Which means death could be coming for us.
I have this really bad feeling. It's not over yet.
And welcome back to another edition of What's in the Podcast. So, funny story. I forgot entirely that there were 5 Fridays in May, and here I was getting all prepped and ready to go for Pride Month, and then I was getting so crazy with the Orlando Fringe Festival, and I forgot entirely that, oh shit, May 30 lands on a Friday. So I clamored to try to get a podcast organized in time to have it released, so I didn't have a gap. Mercifully, Emily is back, so that way we can continue on with our Legacies of Fear to talk about Final Destination 2. At this point, Final Destination Bloodlines has come out, and yes, we have seen it. We will do our best to try and not spoil anything on that one, at least not until we actually get to the episode where we talk about that movie. But if there's anything in that movie that does kind of pertain to what goes on in Final Destination 2, we will try our best to warn you in advance to say, hey, tune out during this bit. But that's the best we could do. But Emily, welcome back once again.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
Oh man, I'm gonna have you back all the time. What are you talking about? This you're acting as if it's like a bird. It's like no, it's like no. Oh God, I gotta call Emily. No.
If I get recast,
always...
I'm gonna be very disappointed in you.
Oh no, absolutely not. So, incidentally, on the cosplay front, congratulations! I see that a very cosplay that you've been waiting a long time to do is finally coming to fruition.
Yes. I finally found a company that could custom make me the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman costume. I'm very excited to debut it in June at Phoenix Fan Fusion.
Yeah, and very bold too, given the weather.
Yeah. Oh God, you suffer for our cosplays.
Yeah, we do. We actually do, like a lot.
A lot.
I think part of the reason why I enjoy our Saw cosplays is that they're so comfortable.
Oh yeah. Especially Saw 2. I'm just in jammies the whole con. Yeah,
and me even when I'm like, the only thing that's uncomfortable, ironically, is just taking off the liquid latex when I'm in the shower anyway. So it's like, it's kind of like therapy. It's kind of like being in a spa day. It's nice like that.
It's good for the skin, the liquid latex.
Yeah, just a bit. Yes. Yeah. Probably not. I don't know.
No.
I don't know how that works. But anyway, we're here talking about Final Destination 2 today, this time directed by David Ellis and written by Eric Bress. Yeah, it came out in 2003. And this one, well, apart from the fact that this is easily the most meme-worthy edition of the series, this is actually the one that a lot of people widely consider to be their favorite of the entire Final Destination series. At least when I ask around, like a lot of people seem to put this one as their top. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, other than the opening disaster having one of my favorite characters in the entire series, the log truck.
The character is so prevalent that it ends up making a guest appearance in the advertising for Bloodlines. So it's like, they knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. They knew what they were doing with that advertising. Yeah. I'm just amazed that the logging companies were willing to let that advertising, or at the very least the companies who transport the logs. I'm amazed that they're willing to let that advertisement fly, considering it's basically saying that you're all unreliable.
Hey man, at least they know nobody's going to be following behind them.
Oh yeah. I wonder if like car crashes, people don't think about the positive impact horror movies have on society in terms of how much it reduces certain phenomena. And actually, in our podcast on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I pointed out that actually that movie helped reduce back roads crimes because people stopped picking up hitchhikers around that time. So I wouldn't be
Mhm.
surprised if the internet popularity of Final Destination 2 has actually helped reduce auto accidents, especially relating to big rig trucks, because people are smart enough to avoid that shit.
Yeah, yeah, and especially because I've seen a video of that very accident happening to somebody. So it's not
Really?
just fiction. I'll send it to
No
you after
kidding.
this is over. There is a TikTok of somebody who actually had that happen to him.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh man, hell, I might even try. I might even like sneak some of the image into the video, man.
there
That's
you
pretty
go.
crazy. Oh no. Well, and it's a funny story because they did intend to do this. Well, we might as well just get this out of the way and just talk about that whole sequence. David Ellis, the director, actually was a stuntman first, above all, and was a second unit director on a lot of other projects. So he had a lot of experience to be able to execute the sequence, which, again, because the Blu-ray still is loaded with features, that a lot of that sequence was practical. Like they actually staged massive car pileups in order to pull off that sequence.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, but bringing this up because they did intend for the logs when they got loose. They even did test footage to see if it would work, where they actually would dump the logs off the truck. But because the logs didn't really bounce in the way they wanted it to,
Mhm.
that was one of the few times in that sequence where they had to use CGI in there. But
That's interesting. That's cool though.
yeah, but I got to give it, even though it's 2003 CGI, that's pretty clean.
It does get much worse, so I appreciate that it looks as good as it does in 2003.
Yeah, yeah. Ironically, it'll get worse in certain other third dimensional sequels that we'll get to in due course. And oh boy, I'm not looking forward to that. But yeah, but yeah, this whole sequence is just a symphony of carnage
Hmm.
right here, and definitely raised the standards for the franchise to come. I mean, some of the other ones are decent, some are good. I mean, I definitely the only one. What would you say broadly for all the movies? Uh, I think we'll probably even do an end of Legacies of Fear kind of breakdown on this, but is there any that you feel would rival this one compared to all the other disaster sequences?
I actually had a lot of fun with the bridge collapse because it had the kind of similar like everybody who dies has their own issues going on, and it takes a while for all of it to happen.
Yeah, yeah, that is a good one. I mean, though I will say Bloodlines, uh,
True.
Bloodlines really up the game on that one, and especially for
Yes.
anyone who's ever been terrified about getting on the Space Needle in Seattle.
Hmm.
Yeah, right there. I mean, God, I want to talk about that, but I can't.
I
I
know.
can't. Can't. So let's go ahead and just plunge right in. Give me a synopsis of Final Destination 2.
um, I might need help on remembering where it was they were all headed. The main characters, Kimberly
Yeah, they were
Corman.
headed, they were on a road trip to Florida.
Okay. Do you know
You
why?
know what? Enjoy 2003 Florida because it's definitely slightly better than 2025 Florida. So,
Kimberly and her group of friends are headed out to Florida when they have to merge onto the freeway. And I would say the first sequence of this movie goes much faster than one. We get kind of into the point really quickly. As they're merging onto the
yeah.
freeway, she has the premonition of a major pileup disaster being caused by our famous log truck in Final Destination, which takes out the lives of how many people were victim in this one?
Ooh, dang it. I just rewatched the kill count on this, but I definitely know it was I was definitely in the double digit. I want to say it was something maybe 30 or maybe 50 people or something, but it was a pretty crazy one.
Okay. So
Yeah.
with her premonition, she manages to save a group of those people who haven't merged onto the
Mm.
freeway, who are all stuck behind her on the entrance lane. We all know how frustrating that can be.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But of course, as per usual, death, not happy about that.
Which they
And is this
explain much quicker in this one because I think they assume you're not starting the Final Destination series at 2 and you might already know the premise of the movie.
Yeah, I remember when I first watched this one. I did watch it, at when I was working at Blockbuster because it did come out while I was still working there. And I did watch it, and I actually had no problem jumping onto this one because I actually, again, remember fondly my first time watching the other one. I remember not enjoying this one initially, but then again, I was in a pretty cynical place in terms of horror at that time. I thought I was doing, oh, it's just a simple cash grab. Oh, it's so repetitious and all this stuff. I was like, oh, fuck you, 2003 me.
To be fair, I personally think it's one of the weaker ones, but that's my we'll discuss why as we
Oh yeah,
go on
we'll
here.
discuss
But
why we go on.
another note of this is it's a 1 year anniversary to the Flight 180 explosion.
Hmm.
So it's a year later.
Yeah, actually, as a fun little aside, this one actually does is the one that actually feels like a legit sequel. And by that, I mean like it actually connects a lot more
Hmm.
to the previous outing compared to all the other ones.
Hmm.
Inevitably, it got to the point that they were just like in name only,
Yeah.
practically in name only sequels, with really the only connective tissue occasionally being Bloodworth poking
Yeah.
his head in.
I would say,
That's basically.
especially in the new one, I don't think they even really mention any of the characters from the previous movies, unless I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, but this one is the one that really does closely tie. And of
Hmm.
course, it also helps that Ali Larter does come back as Clear
Yay,
Rivers.
Claire's back.
Yeah, well,
I love
yeah, Clear,
Claire. I hope she
yeah,
lives a
Clear
long
in
and
us.
happy life.
Yeah,
Why, what's up?
yeah, totally.
Why, what's going on?
Spoilers.
that
But
that being the case, the new group of whippersnappers who are involved in this, Kimberly is the new lead who has the gift of
mhm,
sight.
yes, and she ends up teaming up with a cop with the cop
Mhm.
Thomas Burke, who in the premonition, the disaster pretty much does kick off with him first. He's the one who gets easily the well, the quickest but nastiest death in that pile up, where the log actually just flies perfectly right into
Oh
his
yeah.
face and basically liquefy. He basically gets
Hmm.
a Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker right in his face.
Yeah.
Um, and it's pretty damn incredible.
Yeah.
And that was another example of the few times of CGI, and just for the simple fact that in order to get the shot of the log going in, they had to composite his face over the dummy that's in there.
Hmm.
You had to pull that off. But yeah, we have actually, at this point, I'll go ahead and do the cast list. AJ Cook plays Kim. Ali Larter, of course, is back as Clear. Michael Landis is Thomas Burke. James Kirk, not Tiberius, is Tim Carpenter. All right, side little thing about that character. If you're wondering why his mom is creepily babying him, it's because the character was originally written to be 9.
I see.
And they very clearly did nothing to change it in the script. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get
Okay.
to that. Linda Boyd plays Nora. Keegan Connor Tracy, who actually was a recurring character on Bates Motel season 1, was the Blue Fairy in Once Upon a Time as well. Very solid character actress. T.C. Carson, who video game fans will know and love as the voice of Kratos,
Mhm.
is Eugene. Jonathan Cherry is Rory, and Justina Mikado is Isabella.
And can I just say this accident that happens is occurring on the most irresponsible freeway I've ever seen.
I wish. Well, then again, I've never been to that region, so yeah, for all we know, those might just be regular freeways. But unfortunately, even in
I'm
our neck
talking
of the
about the
woods.
drivers. I'm talking about smoking weed. I'm talking about doing cocaine.
Oh
I'm talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
drinking. I'm talking about just not paying attention in general. It's the most irresponsible freeway I've ever seen.
yeah. If they were all on motorcycles, I'd swear they were all going to Sturgis. And
That's true. There
there were a
was
couple.
too.
Yeah, well, there was one. There was one with a, I guess the movie had to hit its boob quota, so they said,
Hmm.
there's your boobs, and she just
Kids
does a
love their
random,
boobs.
yeah, gets their flash, gets a flasher, and I would love to see. I don't, did they live? I would, I'd be
They
intrigued to know
missed
if.
it. They were ahead of it.
Okay, they were ahead of it. Okay, so they made it through.
Which
So
I
there you
will
go.
mention, I think the timing of this accident is pretty off because
Okay.
when Kimberly stops everybody to have her panic attack, they have a spat on the side of the road. The cop walks up to ask what's going on. And then the log truck passes that entrance to the freeway, and the accident happens pretty much immediately afterward. And I understand we have to see it happening, so it couldn't go too far. But when the accident happens in her premonition, they're all riding behind it for quite a while before this happens. So they've all been on the freeway for a minute.
Yeah. Well, there could be a chain reaction though.
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. She stopped a bunch of cars from getting onto that freeway,
Hmm.
and that alone caused a kind of a domino effect of causality, where because these cars are not avoiding these cars, for all we know, the incident may have occurred a heck of a lot quicker because cars were probably swerving. Hell, one could even say the flasher biker might have started it accidentally this time.
Right.
There could have been, it could have caused a massive chain reaction of causality where it started a heck of a lot sooner because they weren't on the road. Because remember, this does also start because Burke, all right, I'm gonna say this now. What moron takes the lid off their coffee when they're driving?
Oh my God, the anxiety I got. I was like, not even a lid, huh? It's just
Not even a
wiggling right
lid.
there in the cup holder.
No, a long time ago when I was in college, back in my especially stupid days, um, I had a big gulp in my car, and I thought my cup holder was sufficient. I even had like one of those like special extensions to the cup holder. I did a hard turn, damn thing
Oh,
spilled over into the
wow.
passenger side like foot area, and it was not pleasant. I was like, no. After that, I have become very strict about lids.
Hmm.
Not even
Yeah.
lids, well, no, even just
Cups
the
in
kind of cup
general.
holders. Yeah, just cups in general,
Yep.
man. You got to be careful. But God
Yep.
damn it, people are
Just
stupid when it comes to hot beverages in their car.
open, wiggly hot beverages. Yep.
Yeah. Ah. You just think about it. At that point, I'm just picturing Kilgrave or Jessica Jones just going, take that coffee, throw it in your dick.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. But yeah, because Burke was not on the freeway to initiate the whole thing with his coffee crotch, he's probably it did kick off a lot quicker because who knows, maybe the flasher biker may have accidentally
Yeah.
set it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just set off at a different time because of it.
Yeah. So I hope I fixed that for you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, no, I don't. I don't. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So, so there's the one thing about this one though, which I think the reason why I like this one a lot more is that the character dynamics between our survivors differs completely from the first one. The first one, people had very antagonistic responses to Devon Sawa on the first one, where they're acting, where from Alex, like you had Mrs. Luton just acting like, don't talk to me, don't touch me, or people
Mhm.
like attacking him. All this case, we have a bunch of I think the benefit of this one is that because these are all random strangers, these are all just people who don't know each other.
Mhm.
There is a kind of there is a kind of an interesting dynamic here where these people are unfortunately bonded together just from the sheer paranoia of dying.
Sure.
Yeah, which I found a lot more interesting. And actually, I think there was a lot more stakes in terms of, oh my God, we got to find these people, but holy shit, we don't actually know these people aside from this incident. So it's like we got to find them.
Mhm.
So I actually like how Burke, his whole thing being a cop, I like how that actually comes to play in terms of helping our characters try to progress the plot, but also bringing the characters together in order to fight to survive.
Yeah, it is
So.
kind of a nice change of pace that the cops are actually trying to help and not hinder the situation like in the first one.
Yeah, absolutely. That well, though I will say Burke does do one bit of abuse of power in this movie regarding Isabella, where
Oh,
he
right. Yeah. Holding her
yeah,
captive for no reason
holding
just
her
because he
captive
can.
for giving her a trumped up charge that she was driving a stolen vehicle. I'm
Mhm.
like going, "Oh dear God,
Oh, yeah.
nowadays ice would be down her throat so hard
Like, I was just
because
trying to keep her
they're
safe.
listening, because they're listening. Those freaking Gestapo are listening, man. They would be all over that shit.
Oh, yeah.
So, oh yeah. And then Burke would be like, no, that was for
Yeah,
something else.
no.
It's like, sir. Yeah, and they'd just be like,
Just
sir,
trying to
you're a
keep her
white
safe.
cop. Yeah, it's like, sir, you're a white cop. We know your claim is legitimate. And they just do a thumb of their nose, like going, yeah, death is coming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
We spell death ICE. Oh boy, we're getting topical in this bitch today. All right.
So, on that note, we have this group of people where I think more quickly half of them believe the main character that this is a thing that's
Yeah.
going to happen because they already know that this has happened before, even though I don't remember Alex going around telling everybody he had a premonition. His group knew, but I don't remember him telling like the general public that he had a premonition.
I think a lot. Well, oh, actually, yeah, that is a good thing to point out because this movie does open with a montage of news reports of people
Yeah.
talking about, yeah, that it's been a year since Flight 180,
Hmm.
but that obviously was very heavily publicized that the survivors of Flight 180 were getting bumped off systematically, which I admit that is newsworthy because that's a scary thing to
Yeah.
think about. Is just the idea that people who survive a disaster like that very probably start dying left, right, and center. I mean, one could even ponder, like, God, what if that would have happened to the survivors of 9/11? Jesus Christ.
Right. I think people would probably be a little more confused by it because the opening sequence it has a news report or an interview going on in the background where somebody's explaining that first movie premise, saying, well, these kids started dying and not just dying, but dying in really bizarre ways right after this happened in the way they were supposed to die on the plane. And the guy interviewing him was like, well, people die. I'm like, teenagers die in freak accidents? I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like that they're addressing the odd phenomena of the fact that these people just randomly dies
Yeah.
shortly after this disaster occurs
Yeah.
in what, yeah, ostensibly seems to be accidents, but it just is too damn convenient
Right. So now we are
for that to
starting the
happen.
discussion of something weird's going on. And the characters, when this accident is avoided, Kimberly, the main character, brings it up is like, I'm having the same thing happen to me as what happened to Alex Browning. And half the
Yeah.
people believe her and half the people don't.
And but I like how there's levels where some of them don't want to believe it, but you see deep down that they have this foreboding sense that it could be.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you have some who are just treating it like oh come on, that whole thing was just urban legend bullshit kind of
Yeah.
thing. And all of these are perfectly natural, very rational things. I like how Burke, because he is a cop, because obviously being a cop, they probably have some intel on there that probably wasn't for public record. Probably, yeah, I mean, obviously he knew about Clear, the hiding in the friggin' insane asylum,
Hmm.
which incidentally is the same asylum that Laurie Strode got killed in Halloween Resurrection.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, lovely bit of trivia there.
Nice.
Well, not so lovely because it's about that movie, but yeah, yeah, trick or treat, motherfucker. Anyway, but God damn it, ah. But though there is actually that's kind of jumping ahead, but there is an interesting little connection with this that you could say Bloodlines kind of vindicates, but this one actually kind of alludes to it, which is kind of cool. It's the idea that all these characters are actually tied to the first movie because each of these characters survived because they were all supposed to die sooner. But because Alex Browning got them off the Flight 180, and because, unfortunately, because death was affecting them in that first movie, it was affecting their lives afterwards.
Hmm.
So with Kat, apparently she was supposed to be in a hotel that was gassed up by, I guess, nitrous oxide or something like that.
Hmm.
But she missed the conference because she was on a bus that splatted a girl in the street.
Hmm. Yeah, that's Terry.
And there we go.
Yeah.
And actually, Eugene was
Hmm.
transferred to another school after Miss Luton got killed.
Yep.
But he
Yeah.
was supposed to die in a bout of school violence in his old school.
Hmm.
So there's that wonderful idea that not only does Alex's actions in the first movie have a chain reaction just in his immediate vicinity, but it does lend to a lot of good thematic edge of this whole franchise of the idea of how our actions do have consequences that affect people that we don't even know about
Hmm.
because of the interconnectivity of life. Just the idea that we as human beings are connected, even in ways that we ourselves do not see,
Hmm.
and that however our actions actually have consequences that affect other people. I really liked how this particular edition actually uh, talked about that idea, and it was actually really cool. But in turn, I like how it shows death is such a petty bitch that is like, okay, fuck it, okay, I'm gonna do the hardship first, and then work my way backwards because that's actually how this one kicks
Yeah,
off. Because
I was gonna ask about that because I was trying to figure out the pattern that was going on here. The idea is that everybody's gonna die in the way they died in the premonition, but as they discover early on, the cop pulls Kimberly out of the way and it skips her, but that doesn't make sense because she was supposed to die last, and she even asks Clear about that.
Well, and add on to it, let's not forget that Kim was not traveling alone. She was traveling with three other friends, and
Mm-hmm.
immediately her three friends get completely plowed
Yeah,
by a truck, and they were supposed to die last in that premonition.
right.
So that lends a lot to the idea that death is now working backwards from the
That's
pattern
what I was
because,
thinking. I was wondering if that was what was happening because I'm like, there is a pattern, but they kind
yeah,
of make it a little harder to follow in this one.
yeah, death is going backwards because he's trying to clear up loose ends that were inadvertently created by his
Mm.
efforts in the first movie. Because unfortunately, the deaths that he was initiating in that we're talking about death as if it's a tangible human being.
That's how
Tangible
they
is the
have to
word.
do it in the movie. They say him, they say he.
Yeah. So death is very clearly understanding that the people he's killing is causing ripple effects, which are causing people who should be dying to survive.
Mm.
So it's like, you know what? I'm going to jump ahead and work my way backwards. It's kind of like it's that way of kind of like stopping the infection on one end and
Sure.
try to eliminate it on the other end. So that's kind of what they're going with in this instance. Is just the idea that Death's trying to wrap up loose ends, which again, if you go to Bloodlines, makes a lot of sense when you think about the grand scheme. So
Hmm. Hmm.
here we go.
And
You have
relating
this pot.
to that idea, that Bloodlines will touch on later, that kind of contradicts what this movie brings to the table. Um, when they go to meet our friend Bloodworth, they give
Mm,
they're given a kind of a hint that new life can beat death, but doesn't.
But does it though? Well, that's the ultimate thing about this entire franchise is just the fact that, yeah, I mean, we can always come up with new ways to dodge it, but in the end, death is still a petty bitch. It's always going to find a new way to get you
Yeah, and every time they
in
come
the
up with
end.
some new rule, I'm like, once again, where are you guys getting? Why did you guys think this would work? There's no handbook to how death handles things. You guys are making
Yeah.
it up on the spot.
I mean, I can tell you now on a scripting level where they got this because
Mm,
in our previous podcast, we did talk about this, that originally this was supposed to be the ending of the first Final Destination where Clear uh, became with child with
hmm.
Alex's kid and gave birth. And because she gave birth to a kid, it voided out Death's pattern, and her and Kerr Smith's character survived originally. But because that ending
Right.
was deemed a little too schmaltzy and sentimental, because they knew they had a franchise on their hands, they were like, no,
Can't do that.
dark
Yeah.
end that bitch.
Yeah.
Dark end that bitch.
Yeah. And then they in the newer movie kind of explain that that wouldn't have worked anyway with how death handles things.
Yeah. And unceremoniously and off screen kills Alex by the
Oh my
most
God, so tragic.
innocuous way possible.
Is
Now,
there a reason why it feels like that was a fuck you to the character? Like, what? Why?
um, well, I can't explain why they basically just did it in such a banal way. I do know that there was a contract dispute between Devon Sawa with New Line.
Okay,
By the time it happened, and by the time making this movie came out, it just wasn't working out. And
sure.
also, Devon Sawa, I think at the time he was kind of like stepping away for a bit. Like he was kind of like just kind of stepping away from the whole, you know, movie, you know, movie star scene
Yeah.
at that point. And that does explain a lot because I do remember he did kind of drop off like for a good amount of time and until he like finally like poked his head up again
Right, which is
later
totally
on.
fine. It just felt like it was like he left on bad terms because of how terrible that death was. It's not only that you don't see it, you read it in an article happened completely off screen between the sequels. He died in a stupid way. He gets hit by a
Yeah.
brick in an alleyway that falls onto him and kills him immediately. Like you guys couldn't have come up with a more heroic death for the character in the first movie?
Yeah, I mean, Cyrano de Bergerac got hit in the head with a brick, but at least he had time to have a beautiful, poignant ending, you know? Yeah, come on, at least give it that. But then again, I think it's also a matter of if you can't get Devon Sawa and if you don't have time to find a stand-in to be a. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any other way, especially if you don't have Devon Sawa. I don't know any other way you can do a satisfactory way to write him out that would involve like getting in a body double or
Well,
something like that.
I'm not saying bring back, I'm not saying
Yeah.
recast him or anything like that. It just felt like an insult of a way to die. It's stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid. I mean, no denying that. That is pretty damn stupid. But there's a little bit of dark humor to it, especially
Hmm.
considering this is the guy who was wearing welding gloves while he was eating
Oh, he was so careful.
like mixed ham or whatever the hell that ham was that you were showing me. But it's
Deviled
like
ham.
deviled ham, deviled ham pate, or whatever the
Hmm.
hell it was. It seems odd that the person who was so paranoid about it, and especially since they clearly survived the incident in Paris
Yep.
afterward, it's like you'd think that he would have been actually shit. I'm surprised that he didn't commit himself next to Clear.
Yeah, I was gonna say, bringing up like a good segue is the reason Clear is now in a mental hospital is because she put herself there to keep
Yeah,
herself safe.
yeah, and I like how they actually made sure to state no, she voluntarily
Hmm.
did this, and which I'm like, I can only think, okay, who's footing the bill for that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all that art she's selling.
Oh yeah, all that art she's selling, I guess.
I
Maybe the
mean,
insurance. Maybe she
still
got
don't know who
insurance.
her parents are gone. Still don't know who she was living with, but she had a nice
Yeah,
house.
maybe a big old insurance payout from where her house exploded.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was going to be ruled as natural wear and tear and all that, so therefore insurance probably got a nice
Hmm.
payout from that. Maybe I don't know, but it's kind of nice how she has like a nice padded resort. Now it's been said that death. Now, if everyone was like going, well, then how come death still could have come for her in there? It's like, yeah, but for all intents and purposes, she basically just put herself in self-imposed exile where she's
Yeah.
gonna die just from
Not a
waste.
life anyway. She's not living.
Exactly. Yeah, again, hitting home to the core thing is like, yeah, you can either fight death by hiding yourself away and just
Hmm.
waste away and not do anything, or try to embrace life as much as possible before you kick, even if it is like next day.
Yeah, but she's constantly looking over her shoulders. She's kind of has the mentality of one of the characters in the new one of like, I've done this before. I'm a veteran of
Yeah.
this now. Uh, and Kimberly comes to her to ask, what am I supposed to do? Because you're the only one who's survived it before, which makes me wonder, where is Clear on Death's list now? Where in this pattern is she?
Mm. Oh, again, I think death like took her off the board
Mm,
for a while because she put herself in a position where death was like, you know what? She's gonna kick down the line no matter what. And
yeah.
she's sequestered herself in a way that she's not gonna affect anyone else.
Yeah. Until Kimberly comes to her and then she's like, okay, I'll help.
And yeah, and then Clear puts herself back on the board by
Hmm.
thinking that she can come in and help. And it's like, nope,
Yeah.
can't do that. You can't, you can't just think you
What's
can
the
just
quote?
poke
If
your
you
head
fuck
in.
with death, things get messy.
Yeah. And she done fuck with death by poking her head back in and trying to interfere.
Hmm. Don't like that.
Yeah, we don't like that. Yeah, and of course we get another impromptu visit with Mr. Bloodworth. Again, rest in power, Tony Todd, and that's where we come up with the whole idea of new life. Which,
Hmm.
again, I'm not opposed to this idea, and it's a good thing to try. Granted,
They
you're
do
still gonna
try
have
a
to
lot of
wait.
things throughout this whole series, and they're noble tries. I just find it amusing
Mhm.
that they are really 100% certain this is going to work.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is like live in hope, kind of thing, where you're just like, you know what, we gotta live in hope, otherwise,
Sure.
what else is there? And I think that's the ultimate message of Final Destination is just live in hope, just hope for the best.
Hmm.
If death has a plan for you, sometimes you just gotta have to live with it. Just
Yeah.
if you have some kind of insight as to when you're gonna kick, you might as well just embrace life when you can. God, that feels end of episode-y. Damn it, we should, I think we jumped the gun a little bit, especially since we
Uh,
have so much more to
we
break
do.
down about
Haven't
this
even
one.
talked about any of the deaths yet.
Yeah, we're not even there yet. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about creepy mom and her oddly babying relationship with her son
Hmm.
Tim.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so like I said, it was originally written to be a 9-year-old, but the studios put the kibosh on it because, of course, Tim does have one of the most brutal, graphic deaths in the movie, uh, by getting smushed by a pane of glass.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, so there's like, no, we're not gonna stand for that. Age him up. So they make him 15, and uh, but with this, we have this weird relationship where her mom is tucking him in. She's giving him something to help him sleep, taking him to a dentist with weird kid paraphernalia and a freaking
Yeah.
mobile above the seat,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. It's like, what is this relationship we got going on here?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
this kid?
Nobody was like, why don't we write this character to make more sense? No, we're good. He's 9.
He's 9. Not yeah, he's 9 going on 15, and 15 year
Yeah.
olds totally
Hey man, if 30 year
totally
olds can play
shape.
15-year-olds, why can't 15-year-olds play 9-year-olds? You know what I'm saying?
Shut up.
What are you talking about? How old were they really in the first one? Come on.
Yeah, come on.
They were
Fair enough, fair
16,
enough.
quote unquote.
Oh yeah, but though there is one great joke in there where the dentist is examining him, like going, "Does your mom know you're smoking?"
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Right.
you know what? That I was really glad I heard that joke because that actually does kind of help shape up the relationship where it's the idea of you could say because I think they actually established that his mom Nora was a widower.
Mm-hmm.
So she
Yep.
could be that kind of mom who is like so horrified to lose her son that she's going to baby him as much as possible to keep a hold of him.
It's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's just gonna keep treating him like a kid, whereas
Mm-hmm.
he's like, Mom, I'm older, I'm older. And yeah, he's obviously breaking away and doing, adult things like smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think, damn it, we rationalized that too. Shit.
What? That's a bad thing. We're
Yeah,
trying to make sense of the series. Come on.
yeah, we're trying to make sense of it, but no, I was like, it's just wacky the way they portray this kid. But even then, he dies by doing something that a 9-year-old would totally do. But you're wondering if a 15 year
Yes.
old would
Yes.
just be. Yeah, like, oh, look, birds, or making
Mm-hmm.
like Henry
Mm-hmm.
Jones from Last Crusade. Yeah,
Which
trying to.
which this death is, I think, one of the two in this movie where they really threw a red herring at us of making us
Yeah, they
think
did.
he's definitely gonna die in that dental chair, and then he just dies in a really quick, completely different way.
Yeah, actually, yeah, this one does that a bunch of times. You're right,
Mm-hmm.
where, yeah, it seems like it's setting up for something so grand. It's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and playing heavily with people's anxieties about the dental chair to begin with.
Yes.
I mean, not gonna lie, I would have anxieties about a dental chair that has a fucking mobile above the seat, that can easily break off and yeah, freaking choke this kid to death, or
Now,
even just
especially
having
because
to.
you've seen this movie, now you have anxieties about it for sure.
Oh no. I do not fear my dentist, actually. I like my dentist. Well, once I actually get around to revisiting him, I really need to set another appointment. But
Every 6 months.
yeah, give or take 3 years. Um, yeah, mercifully I have not had any issues since then because I have been taking care of myself as a good boy. But
Mhm.
we're not here for that. This is why it's a podcast, so you don't see my teeth. Unless you see the YouTube version, then I'm fucked. Well, that's why I have the facial hair.
Just get over it. You're going to the dentist and you're going to be freaked out by the mobile above the chair.
I don't know. I was always
If there's a
weird.
fish tank in
Even
the lobby, pay attention to it.
yeah, the fish tank in the lobby. There is so many things going on in this. They have pigeons suicide bombing the
Mm-hmm.
windows,
Mm-hmm.
which
Oh
I mean,
yes.
I don't know what they're trying to achieve by smashing into the windows like that. I mean, there's no way the windows are that clean that pigeons are that dumb that they're going to be missing the friggin' window. I
It's
mean,
just a
Death must
sign, man.
have.
It's just a sign.
I'm just picturing Death like the Wicked Witch of the West going, "Fly, my pretties, fly."
Mm-hmm. He's just giving him a touch of the senility and making him go crazy a little bit.
Maybe, but we even get this whole thing where one of them actually, in Hitchcockian fashion, smashes through the window,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them like clamoring to get this up. And again, as I said, meant previously, bad wiring, just
Oh,
load of bad wiring, just
bad
water getting
wiring and
everywhere.
water.
Bad wiring and water. Just that entire dental office is just bad at that.
Yeah.
So bad. I think the way they orchestrate these kills are amazing because yeah, there's such a big hubbub going on in this dental office, and because the kid makes it out of it all right.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you think like, oh, we're fine, and then nope, just
Yeah,
get it
no,
right
because
there.
unless somebody intervenes, which doesn't happen a lot in the beginning of this movie, there's not a lot of intervening going on
Mhm.
to skip people, much like the first one, I think, had a lot of that, where it was rapid fire skipping somebody and then going straight to the next person.
Yeah, yeah. This one, I will agree with you on this. I don't. I wasn't really thinking enough about the pattern on this one.
It
I
was
really
harder to
wasn't
follow
thinking
for sure. So
it
I
really
wasn't
was
really
hard to
sure who
follow.
was supposed to be next, and that made it harder to like be like, who am I supposed to be watching right now?
Yeah. I think at this juncture, and this kind of really just carried through going on throughout the series, even into Bloodlines. I was just like, you know what? I don't need to worry about the pattern. I'm just having way too much fun, seeing how the hell they're going to get it, and just, or even just, even, and also on a side note, how they're going to get out of it if they're the one who's like
Hmm. Hmm.
next on the thing. But I think the charm of this entire series is you as the audience just really kind of being entertained to see all these things that you think, because your anxiety is about individual objects or things that get knocked out of whack, that end up in a place where you're like, oh no, 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 no. And you think, and your imagination is running
Hmm.
wild as to how this is going to come into play, or if this is like the ultimate thing. You
Hmm.
don't think that that is, you think that this is going to be the ipso facto thing, but then it ends up just being another cog in a massive
Hmm.
cause. The like, well, I think mouse this series has been associated with the board game Mousetrap
Right.
a lot of
Or Rube
times.
Goldberg machine.
Rube Goldberg, that is the term. That is the term as well.
Hmm.
But well, yeah, and I think you were alluding to one earlier, but there is another death that's actually very similar to this.
Hmm.
But do you want to talk about that one now, or do you want to save it for later?
Well, sure, because it is the first death, right? That happens to them after the disaster.
Oh, that's
The
not the one I
apartment,
was
right?
thinking about.
Oh,
Huh?
the apartment, Evan.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh God, yeah, you're right about
Yeah.
Evan. Yeah,
So
how did
he's the first victim of this.
yeah. The lottery winner
Mhm.
and
Who lives in the most anxiety riddled, disgusting way I've ever seen. Man who
well,
walks
if
into
you
his apartment where there's a pan of full of spaghetti sitting on his table that he tosses out the window. Like, what are you doing? Who lives like this?
well, it just goes to show that there are some people in this world you probably should never be rich to begin with, but they do establish that he just recently
Yes.
came into money, so it explains why he still lives in the rat bag apartment. And
Yeah.
I do like, and I've always been told, like when someone wins the lottery, a lot of times they blow their money,
Yeah.
they don't manage it properly. But they're also the kind of people who, like, because they're so out with it that they get harangued with calls from people
Hmm.
like saying, hey, I was
Yeah.
that friend who totally blew you off in high school, but I feel like we need to reconnect. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
you know
Which
kind of
he's
thing.
having all that people messaging him and leaving messages on his
Yeah.
answering machine, and we get to see one of the things that he's bought, which kind of plays into that whole playing off of people's anxieties. I don't know if there's a movie much like your bus scene. I don't know if there are movies before this one that bring the garbage disposal into play so much.
Uh, Before this, I'd have to really dig deep, but I do know one that did it afterwards that did a great job playing the
Sure,
anxiety of it, and that was Halloween Ends.
sure.
Actually did a great bit with the garbage disposal. But
Uh-huh.
come to think of it, and because in this case instance, death does operate by initiating typical household
Hmm.
accidents. Yeah, you could definitely imagine something bad going on. And for even I myself, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times I do find myself having to clean out my damn garbage disposal.
We all hate
So
reaching into there. If something falls in there, I'm like, this is how I'm going to die. I know the switch is on the other side of my island, but this is how I'm going to die. I'm going to have to reach in there and get that thing out of
yeah.
there.
Well, and we also have to remember this actually would not kill you. It would
Hurt a
injure the
lot.
shit out of you.
Yeah. And they've
It
done
would
it
injure
so
the
many times in horror movies since then because nobody wants to watch somebody digging around in a bunch of blades.
yeah. Oh yeah, precisely. And yeah, this one really handled it pretty well. And of course, this jackass decides to like go in there. Well, I always say when you're cleaning it out, you have to take the flap out. You have to take the rubber flap out.
I'm
This
sure he didn't know
jackass,
how to.
it's a simple reach in and pull it out. You
Nah.
don't have to. This jackass just dips his entire hand in there with the
With a
watch. That's
watch
another thing.
on, getting him stuck in there. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like little wonder you fucking get it in there, you idiot. But yeah, what transpires next is this huge. Yeah, and again, rat bag apartment. So you could.
Yeah.
This is the one time I actually will believe like all the horrible things happening in there because this
Hmm.
looked like a rat bag apartment.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it turns into this big old blazing inferno, and you just think this guy's gonna get it so many times, but
Yeah.
nope, gets on the fire escape like you should. makes his way down,
Yeah, he's fine. Everything's cool.
and
But then he slips on that fucking spaghetti.
he slips on the chop suey. I think it was chop suey or something like that. Doesn't matter. Yeah, he slips on it,
No,
and
he was
even
microwaving chop suey, and that's why the microwave was going haywire because there was a magnet that fell in there. But
yeah,
what he threw outside was a pan of spaghetti he had just sitting on his table for some
yeah,
reason.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, slips on that, and even then, because I remember this death being shown in the trailer.
Hmm.
And they cut away, of course, before the thing actually lands on him. They do a great fake out where it stops like right before it hits his eye. It's like, oh, okay. But then no, slams
Yep.
right into his eye.
Which
Yeah, it
did
was
you see the
beautifully
cute
done.
little hint before on the fridge?
No, remind me again. I may have seen it, but what was it?
You probably did. When he takes out the Chinese food, he sets it next to the fridge, and then one of the magnets falls into the food, which is
Uh,
part of the chaos. But it reads
uh,
"I" on the fridge because the H fell off, and it says
uh.
"I" on the fridge, and that's how he gets killed.
Very nice. Very nice. Now yeah. Oh no, yeah, that was another fine little example of big show but tiny finale, which
Yeah.
is the kind of wonderful thing this series is really great at doing. I
Mhm.
mean, but there was another death very similar to it later on involving cats, where they're all in the car together. They're all in the SUV together, and then they lose control.
Mhm.
But Cat gets pinned in her car, and she very narrowly gets her head impaled by a broken piece of PVC that actually like juts its way through her headrest. She's
Mhm.
good and she's fine. And then first responders are there to try to, you know, get her out with the jaws of life. But then they hit the car, airbag knocks her head right back into the jagged pipe.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was a winner for me. That one just cracked my shit up.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like, oh, hey, they made it. Well, never mind, they didn't. And it's
No,
always
no,
like
no.
shocking and fantastical the way that happens.
Yeah, and even better that is that not only was this death great, it actually ended up by cause and effect causing another great death
Immediately.
afterwards. Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately with the death of Rory because Kat was a compulsive smoker
Yeah.
and gas was leaking,
And again,
caused ex
you're being distracted by this line of gas that's moving around the set. You're like, where's that going? What's going to happen? She's definitely going to light herself on fire. And then no, that's completely different.
yeah, and then big explosion, wires come and slice up Rory and
Oh.
again another wonderful marriage of digital compositing alongside practical effects, but that a lot
Mhm.
of that was done practically when Rory gets vivisected
Yeah.
with the
That's very
wires.
similar to the shrapnel from the first one. So
Yeah. Oh
flying
yeah,
shrapnel.
absolutely. Yeah, flying shrapnel. But admittedly, for me, I'm always a big fan of just the Resident Evil just wire slicing. Just me, that
Yeah.
always just cracks me up. I like it because it happens so fast,
Yeah.
and I love a good direction where the actors like acting like, did something just happen?
Yeah.
And like
They have that
even
moment
though
of just like, huh? Because it's just no register.
yeah, it doesn't register that something just happened to them until like it's way too late. So yeah, I love those domino effect ones. But there's another one in the elevator, which there's a level of what the fuck
Yeah.
with this one
Oh,
where involving Nora. Actually, Nora and actually Eugene's in the
Eugene.
elevator with them,
Hmm.
where there's a guy with a basket of prosthetic limbs who sniffs her hair.
Yeah, he gets real creepy real fast.
There's a there's a level of what the fuck.
And we've just been told by the other cast members who see a shadow of a man with hooks that a man with hooks is going to kill you. So now, as an
Yeah,
audience member, we're on edge about this creeper in the elevator.
yeah, we think that this is gonna be actually. I'm thinking more and more. I'm like, yeah, death doesn't do the whole control someone to kill you. And
No,
this is the one that actually does play with that idea, the idea that death is making people do it. And it's like,
no.
no, death's not making them do it. It's just
Mm-mm.
death is just
We have
counting
free
on
will.
people. Yeah, they have full free will. It's just they have
Mhm.
free will to do really creepy shit like sniff your hair while you're right behind. And the
Yeah,
freaking Nora just sits there and just lets him do it, even though when someone's doing that shit to you, you would know it, especially in an elevator.
yeah. You
Yeah,
fucking hear him doing that.
yeah.
He's right behind her head.
Yeah, and of course one of his hooks gets caught in her hair,
Hmm.
and she gets full blown, and she gets like her head chopped off in the freaking lift. I mean, actually, funny
Yeah,
enough, there is a horror film called The Lift. If you've never heard of it,
I think I've seen so many elevator related horror movies.
Well, you've seen elevator-related incidents in a horror film, but you've never seen one about a demonically possessed elevator.
Oh no, I've just seen, bad thing people getting stuck in an elevator in an entire movie, like Devil or
Yeah,
Up.
like Devil. Yeah, no, in this case, it's like, no, in this case, the elevator itself apparently is possessed. I've not seen the film, but I
Oh,
know that apparently it's a haunted elevator
okay.
that kills people. It's like Deathbed, the bed that eats.
God, I love it.
Yeah. Oh, Deathbed.
Oh, that's clever.
Special ass movie. Oh
It's
yeah,
a
it's so clever.
special movie.
Yeah. Oh, Deathbed's such a special film. Comment section. If anyone's ever seen Deathbed, the bed that eats, just tell us if you want to do an episode on that because I am more than happy to do an episode on Deathbed. Hell, I'd love to see a Final Destination episode where they tried to do a deathbed. This is something that was alluded to in the first film that they don't really bring into play, but this is where I think they actually do vindicate the idea, specifically the idea that if death doesn't is not intending for you to die yet, it will keep you alive until it's
Mm-hmm.
ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
And with this moment, this is where Eugene kind of goes through some character modes in this movie where
Quickly.
on one, yeah, on one side he's credulous to it, but then all of a sudden he's like, you know what, I'm not getting involved with this. But then after he sees Nora get killed, freaks out and actually tries to take his death in his own hands, tries to shoot himself,
6 times.
or yeah, 6 times. He shot himself 6 times. Yeah, but the gun is not working. But and as it turns out, no, it's not that they're done. It's just and the fully loaded all six
Yeah.
rounds in the
They were like
chamber.
6 misfires. That doesn't seem likely. And they're like,
That's
that's not
yeah,
your
that's
time. It's
not
not
like
your time, man.
yeah. Yeah, that this was I think the first time that actually put into action the idea that it when death's ready for you, that's when
Hmm.
it'll yeah, that it will keep
Yeah.
you alive until it's ready for you.
Yeah, because Carter tried to be reckless in the first one, but he was actually next. So they
Mhm.
had to skip over him. Whereas this one, Eugene was not next. So he could not be killed, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, which going back to your feelings on it, yeah, because I would say the pattern's not as clear this go around. It doesn't ring as well, but I was still again just okay with the idea of not really knowing because just the idea of him trying to do it and Death saying nope.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
I
it
think
still
that's the
worked.
reason I like knowing who's supposed to be next, so I can be like in my own mind, he can't be next. It has to be somebody else. So if he tries to pull something like that, I'm like, he's trying to shoot himself in the head. I doubt that's how he's gonna die.
Mm. Yeah, whereas me, I think I kind of have fun with the not knowing because I love and because a lot of times it does actually surprise you anyway because then someone else nearby gets killed and you're like,
Hmm.
oh shit, it was that person. So
Yeah. That happens
I think
once in
it's
Bloodlines, and I was like, I think I know what's about to happen here because this is a little too goofy.
yeah, yeah. It's such a good one. So good. Oh my God. But yeah, so all culminates in this big old frantic chase where they're all trying to get to Isabella, make sure her baby's born because they want to make sure new life gets born that will negate Death's pattern. But
New life that was
unfortunately,
supposed to die in this tragic
yeah,
accident.
you just jumped right in. Yeah, that is the big twist. I will say that was a fun twist right there where we think back and realize, oh shit, Isabella actually survived that whole thing. She never
Hmm.
was supposed to die to begin with. And
Hmm.
so, but even then, I love a good stakes change where it's like, or a plot revelation that changes the game. And that does change the game where you realize, oh crap, well, where are we going to get new life now? I mean,
Hmm.
you can't risk just Burke just knocking up Kim and just wait expecting Death to wait for 9 months. No.
Although it has waited 6 months before, so I don't know. Death can be patient.
Yeah. Yeah. Death can be patient.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but Kim does actually, and I do love a heroine character that's willing to do the self-sacrifice thing. I'm always a big fan of that. I was it always points in the hero character's favor that they're willing to throw themselves on the spear, especially if it means saving other people. I think that's
Hmm.
pretty damn awesome. And she does. And there is a good amount of tension there to be had when it seems like, yeah, she may drown and no one's going to be able to save her in time. So I was actually kind of a big fan of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
she was counting on having the doctor come by because she's been having premonitions for like the last half of the movie that she couldn't figure out who they were for, and figures out they're
mm,
mine. Like I'm having visions of my future death. I,
yeah.
I don't. Here's where I have an issue with that. Um, one of the elements of Final Destination that I'm a big fan of, and they will bring it back full force in three, is their ability to get hints on what's going to happen next and who's going to die next.
Yeah.
And it feels like they sort of gave up on that halfway through this movie to focus on the baby and the premonition that she's having, which ends up just being herself.
Okay.
I personally have fun seeing, like in the first one, he's getting all these hints, whether it's a torn piece of paper or it's the bus in the window. You know, he's getting these flashes of what's about to happen, and I feel like they kind of forgot about that halfway through this movie.
Okay. Oh, okay. I get what you mean. Okay. Where instead of just implied just things like around you,
Mm-hmm.
giving you giving you the hint, this one just balls out giving her visions.
Yeah, yeah, and not necessarily even about who's going to die next, but about her own death later on in the movie. So the premonition is her own. So it was her realizing what she had to do before she realized she had to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see. I think the reason why I'm not as mad at it is just because the fourth one does the same thing, but way worse.
There's a reason I like three, and that's
Yeah,
part
no,
of
no,
it.
no, no, three, no, three, and again, when we get to it, no, three had, I was thoroughly entertained by the third one. I actually had a
Mm,
great time watching the third one, so I will not talk bad about it. I just won't say I like it as much as I like some of the other ones.
sure.
But I think both you and I can agree that the fourth one was easily the biggest sinner when it came to its portrayal of the prophecies, and not even because of the 3D shit, but
Yeah.
that's a different sin in and of itself. But that one
Mm.
just
That's a
balls
visual
out.
sin.
Yeah, that's a visual sin. I mean, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that, where they do kind of like have the premonition just come in just for plot convenience purposes, as
Hmm.
opposed to like something that feels organic to the story. And yeah, I do like it better where I don't know. I premonitions are such a tricky plot device
Hmm.
because sometimes, yeah, they're just written in just for the sake of moving the plot forward.
Yeah.
But if you do them correctly, there is like kind of an emotional resonance to them. Like there is like you can actually have something good come from, yeah, like the first one where the premonitions actually just come from just regular objects
Hmm.
all around the house. But yeah, when it's just like random flashes that they can't control, that just seems infuriating.
And well, yeah, and with hers, it's not even just a flash, like she's living the experience all of a sudden as if it's the first premonition all over again, but in like bits and pieces.
Hmm.
Whereas the hints that I'll call them, not really premonitions, they're just hints, are just like, I saw something weird and I can't explain it. But now the audience is trying to focus on, okay, where are birds going to come into play and what's going to happen? So like birds happened earlier in the window, and now we're focused on these pigeons. So it's kind of in a cool way a distraction to the audience to get us to think about something else.
Yeah. And because, yeah, and we're not 100% able to put the pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so when it strikes, it's like,
Right. So when it happens, it's
oh,
like, oh, okay, cool. So that's why I miss not seeing those hints because I'm like, what am I
yeah.
looking for? And where am I going to get the oh, yeah moment? Like, oh, cool. That's what caused that.
Yeah, precisely. No, I can definitely see. I can see your point on that front. I mean, I think the one thing I can just say in defense, specifically just about Kim's whole thing, is that it's cryptic enough that you're still trying to figure out what the nature is. It's because they're taking context out of these
Hmm.
visions. You don't know exactly how these relate to each other
Sure.
because, of course, she keeps mentioning that I've seen this vision of this doctor,
Hmm.
and she might be killing
Yeah,
Isabella.
that was an immediate like assumption. A
Yeah, that was
weird
pure
immediate
presumption.
assumption of her being like, this doctor's gonna kill Isabella. And I'm like, why would that be? Like, why would a
Yeah,
doctor go homicidal on a pregnant woman
yeah.
in a hospital?
I mean, I know it's a stressful job, but
Yeah.
Jesus, I mean,
I just gotta relieve the stress somehow.
I got to relieve the stress. And, it's like, God damn it, this baby's going to be born and they're going to get sick and I'm going to have to freaking heal them too.
But all it felt like was a big old like a distraction. I think in a bad way. It was kind of just a waste of time, in my opinion, to go chasing down this doctor when it's like she's not gonna kill anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Though I will say we do get a great, like, I got to give love to Justina Mikado for her performance. I would say one of the funniest laughs I got out of it was when her baby's born, and freaking both Kim and Burke come in like going, "Oh yeah," he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, congratulations!" And she's like,
Alright.
"Who the hell are these people?"
Yeah, because we were all of a sudden like, oh yeah, they've never really like spoken to her, and she
They've
was
never
part of
met this
this.
person before. Yeah, she's been a vital cog in this
Yeah,
entire story, and she has not met them. She is not related. I even love the fact, yeah, she gets arrested, and
yeah,
she has no idea
yeah,
why.
yeah. Right.
This
She has
poor
no idea
woman.
this whole group of people have been looking for her half the movie. Like that's great. Who are you
Oh
people?
yeah. And it gets that just sublime payoff of
Hmm.
just who are these people?
Yeah.
Who the hell are these people?
Oh yeah, we haven't really interacted.
Yeah.
We haven't met, have
That's
we?
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, but as it turns out, that whole thing was a big distraction
Hmm.
to hide from the fact that unfortunately by this point Eugene is in intensive care, and we think things are fine,
Yeah.
but then clear and now I think what I remember not liking this film originally when I saw it, and I think one of the things I couldn't stand was the fact that they did this, but yeah, they just incinerate Clear in a
Yeah.
blaze of
Yeah.
yeah.
Again,
But now
unceremonious. The main character from the main movie, like gone. Oh,
definitely, actually, I'd say a heck of a lot more spectacular than
yeah.
Alex,
Well, yeah. At least she got to be there for it, but it was just like, oh.
Yeah, but not only that, going on a fiery inferno, honestly, is
Mm.
still pretty damn awesome by comparison to clubbed with a brick like a Looney Tunes character. But or
Off
like freaking
screen.
Mar from like freaking Mar from Home Alone 2.
Hey, that man's a superhero. He can survive being clubbed with a brick.
Oh yeah, he totally no, 4 bricks and getting electrocuted.
Hmm. Both those
Yeah,
guys were
among
superheroes.
oh yeah, especially no. I think they toughened up after the first movie, and then they
Oh
just
yeah.
got completely
Yeah.
roided out. They got roided out in prison in anticipation for that kid.
Got some metal plates put in their head for sure.
Yeah, exactly. They shouldn't be calling themselves the wet or the sticky bandits. They should be calling themselves the steel bandits,
The titanium bandits.
titanium bandits. Until Kevin grew up and became Jigsaw and then killed them both in a trap.
That's true. That's true.
Oh yeah.
Can't run
Oh no, that's
forever.
oh yeah, I know that headcanon. That headcanon's been going around.
How does it
And
feel to be
I
Kevin McAllister?
yeah, and I know Macaulay Culkin has kind of leaned into that
Hmm.
a couple times, and it was pretty fucking funny.
It's pretty
But
great.
yeah, it is pretty awesome. Oh God. But yeah, so as it turns out, the whole time, Kim was having premonitions about her almost death, and she winds up getting resurrected by the doctor who she thought was the killer. And with new life, death's pattern has been quote unquote voided. Now,
Yeah, so they say.
I think it was a deleted scene. I want to say either in the third, fourth, or fifth, one of them that says that later on both Burke and Kim would get killed.
That's what I was wondering because I was like, oh yeah, I
Um,
forgot they're like fine at the end of this movie. And that doesn't seem like
yeah,
Final Destination.
well, I mean, fortunately, there is a great stinger at the end of this one that still like
Right.
gives it a Final Destination kind of ending.
Hmm.
But I believe that was a deleted scene. That so for all intents and purposes, I think they are still alive out
Really?
there.
That's strange that there's loose ends out there.
Yeah, I'd have to look deeper into it. I mean, to find out if
Hmm.
people have accepted that deleted scene as canon, because there was a deleted scene where in a news report that's revealed that they died.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, because otherwise, wouldn't the future victims of this issue try to track him down just like Clear?
mm, possible. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, at the same time, though, they were playing a major role in that. Yeah, yeah, that's as much as I love the new life rule, that does actually call into question, the whole idea of death's pattern. I mean, just
Hmm.
even beyond just premonitions fucking with death's pattern, it does call into question just the idea of death, saying, oh shit, I'm pro-life, never mind. Kind of
Out of
thing.
nowhere.
Yeah, just out of nowhere just saying that. Yeah, that is a weird side to it, which yeah, I'm just gonna accept that they died. I'm just gonna
I
say they've
like that
been
better anyway, because otherwise there's random survivors out there after all these movies have shown us that's not really the case.
yeah.
I don't
I
like
mean,
that.
what yeah, I think again, we'll get to it when we get to to a
Mm,
later installment, but there was an out that I thought had a lot more credibility later on.
okay.
And even better, still felt like depth was still in control
Yeah.
throughout. So, but we'll
Mhm.
get to that one when we get to that. But I think we got really deep into Final Destination 2 anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, overall, I'll still say I'm still thoroughly entertained by this. So I think a lot of it really is because after revisiting it when I was prepping for Bloodlines, I think I just found overall I found the characters a heck of a lot more entertaining on this go round. Uh, death scenes are much more spectacular, much more gorier compared
They
to the
got to
first
keep
one.
upping the ante, and the movie moves fast. It moves much faster than the first one because the first one had to establish this whole plot.
Yeah, actually, you're bringing up something that people don't really that cynics don't really think about when it comes to sequels. The great thing about a well set up sequel is that if the first movie did its job of establishing the
Mm-hmm.
rules and the world, the sequel can just start running. They can
Yeah,
just hit the ground running and not
yeah,
have to worry about
don't waste time.
establishment. And to this movie's credit, the opening montage puts us back into the world with the montage with the news reports and talking about and bringing up Flight 180. Does a great job just reminding us that this is the world, this is what happened, and now we're just hitting the ground running with a new character and just
Yeah.
this whole scenario here. So it's a it I it in a way it's kind of like how I feel about something like say Saw 2, where I feel like that's the one that really kind of defines the franchise and really kind of defines the things we love about the franchise. It just kind of moves everything forward. It's more spectacular, kind of plays more with the rules, and just yeah, I don't know. This one
And
for
it,
me, I
and like this one, it has a character from the first one to kind of help the characters along and understanding what's about to happen and what you
yeah,
guys need to do. Clear is the Amanda of this movie.
exactly. Well, Clear and Bloodworth, both of them do a good job
Right.
ushering us
Mm-hmm.
forward. So, and I think that because this movie does what it does, we're that's how we're able to have movies like the third one, where really for the most part doesn't connect at all to the
Yeah.
first two, but fortunately we are still so used to what this movie's serving us that we are able to just jump right into the third one and not really give a shit about
Yeah.
connecting to the other ones.
Yeah. And I think it does a good job at standing separate from the first two movies, of being its
Mhm.
own final destination experience, too.
Yeah, but that is a story for another podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
to wrap up, go ahead and give me now. Typically, we do just your top kill, but given the circumstances of this particular franchise, go ahead and give me your top uh, premonition kill and your top post premonition kill.
Within the premonition, I think I enjoyed the somewhat comical irony that the Firebird turned into a fireball.
I did not think about that until now, and that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. The most
That's pretty
fiery
great.
death in the premonition is a Firebird crashing into the log truck's like fuel tank, and it just causes the biggest fireball of the entire disaster. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be boring and just give it to Burke because that really was the first
Yeah.
like when it comes to just why this particular sequence has become so meme worthy, I think
Hmm.
Burke's death is the thing that punctuates it.
Yeah.
And not only that, just the combination of the practical with the digital in order to really execute that death and just do it so well. Just on a filmmaking level, it's masterfully done. And this is why stuntmen give them a camera in their hands, they can make some pretty cool looking fucking action sequences.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
With
as evidenced
little
by the John Wick
CGI. Yeah.
with just the right amount of CGI to sell the illusion, and
Hmm.
that's what it did. I mean, come on, look at the John Wick franchise. You put a freaking camera in a stuntman's hands, you get some gold with that shit. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So, what is your favorite post premonition death?
I think I gotta give it to, as goofy as it is, I gotta give it to Evan's death, honestly, because it just went from cringy apartment to a goofball sticking his hand in a dark garbage disposal while his microwave is sparking and a fire starts behind him and he escapes all that nonsense just to die anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And again, and that's the fun of this franchise. A lot of times, that's what they do. They make you think, "Oh, good, he made it," and then no, yeah. And I think this may have been the death that kind of defined like the fun of the franchise right there.
Yeah.
And the fact we would get like a bunch of them later on that would do the same thing. I think you're right. Yeah,
It
that's a good
also
one
helps that
too.
he's like not a very likable character. So you're like, okay, good. I'm glad he died.
Oh yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy and his frosted hair. Yeah. Actually, for myself, I'm actually going to swap it out on a tonal level, but I actually will give it to Nora's death because if there's
Mhm.
any death that is flat out anxiety inducing and why a lot of people fear the elevator,
Right.
it is freaking scary. Just the idea. I mean, everyone leaps into when you are in an elevator, people leap into the fucking elevator. It's like they are terrified, even when the doors
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
closing.
Oh,
People
dude, and
leap
that
into the
elevator
fucking.
was the fastest elevator in the West. They had a split second to get in and out of that thing.
Yeah, well, I think they established that the elevator's faulty.
Yeah, they said the bumpers are broken, so hitting them doesn't open them back up. But even just
Yeah,
those doors opening and closing was like, go.
exactly. So, but just and add on to it, I'm going to give it Linda Boyd, the actress who played Nora. Her
Mhm.
performance just well, and they actually do a great job segueing or leading up to this with her character, where after she lost her kid, she lost her husband. She thinks like I have nothing to live for, like I
Yeah.
really don't care anymore, like she's given up on life, kind of thing.
Mm,
So, um, but then in that moment when her head's caught in there, when it's pretty clear that she's about to die, you hear her scream, "I don't want to die."
yeah.
I was like, God damn,
Hmm.
that would be something I would love it if they get into later on in the franchise. Like, what if someone was suicidal and death isn't ready for them yet?
Then they can't die. That's what Eugene tried to do.
Yeah, what Eugene tried to do, but what if there was someone who just was so legitimately depressed, but like who actually does try unaliving themselves, but death keeps intervening because it's like, no,
Yeah, it's like the
you're
reverse
not.
Final Destination. You're immortal until I say you are, bitch.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And they've
That
touched
would be
on that
fun.
in later sequels about what if somebody tries to become homicidal? Well, who
Oh
are you
yeah,
trying to kill, and is it their time yet? Because then no.
exactly. Yeah. So, oh God, I can't wait to get to the fifth one. So much good shit in that movie. All right. So that is Final Destination 2. Yes, it's hopefully it's been a good amount of time. Have you watched anything new recently that you want to tell us about?
Actually, I'm a big fan of the series, but I recently found and watched VHS 94 on Tubi,
Oh yeah.
and
It's such a
I
great
thought they did
series.
a great job.
Yeah, well, you could be watching the VHS series if you get Shudder because that's where they're coming out on.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean VHS Beyond came out this last year and it was fucking
Ah,
awesome.
I do want to
It
see
was
that.
Yeah, VHS Beyond was really damn great. Well, actually, I think it
Cool.
was 94. Yeah, 94, 99. Then they did 85. And then it's Beyond. So you're still behind. You're still way
Wait.
behind.
Which one did I didn't realize there was. Maybe it was 99. I saw one of them. Tubi did. No, that's Shutter. Okay, so 94 is Tubi's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think in
Wait,
order, yeah, it was
94.
VHS 94. It was
Okay,
VHS
yeah, I
94,
was.
then 99, then 85, and
Yeah.
now it's just VHS Beyond. But yeah, no,
Okay.
and then 94 is a great. Well, okay, so you saw the one with Ratma.
Yes.
Hail Ratma.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I thought it was entertaining.
Oh, it's a great one. 94 is a really good one. That one may very well be one of my favorites of the series. That one's pretty damn spectacular.
That's fun.
Yeah, so no, I definitely say I can't wait for you to see the other ones. The other ones that have come to Beyond is a freaking madhouse, man. They do some wild shit in that one.
Cool.
But I'll say 85 had some winners too. It's just been ever since Shudder took over the VHS franchise, it has just been a winner after winner after winner with so many cool segments. And they bring in some great filmmakers to work on it. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Beyond actually has Kate Siegel, Mike Flanagan's wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she actually directs a segment for this
Ah, cool.
for Beyond. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's something about. I mean, I love anthologies like a lot. Like horror
yeah.
anthologies are my absolute favorite. Maybe it's my short attention span or whatever it is, but I need short stories and they're just
Ooh.
fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, actually, I do want to do a segment on an episode all talking strictly about anthology. So if you ever want to jump in and us talk about those, we can happily do that. So stay tuned, ladies
Yay.
and gentlemen. We will go ahead one day, we'll do an episode talking about horror anthologies. For myself, again, the Fringe Festival, as when this episode airs, the Fringe Festival will have wrapped up. But for right now, I am still in the heat of it. The show has done insanely well. It's been getting rave reviews all across the board. Attendance has been great. Audience has been loving it. They've especially been enjoying the mechanic of them actually getting the film that we're shooting. And even people before they come to the show, I've been telling them like, yeah, and here's the fun part. We actually are shooting the movie, so you will get the movie after the show. And they're like going,
Nice.
"What? Seriously?" So they get this, so they enjoy that. But I was still able to find time to go see a bunch of other films as well. I was able to find time to go see Clown in the Cornfield, which I have not read the books it's based on, but I am intrigued. I am intrigued. It was definitely a fun slasher. I would just say in this post Art the Clown world, it was in this post Art the Clown world, I don't know if it's going to have the same impact, but it was still a fun one. Though I did watch, I finally watched Puppet Master 2
Okay.
for the first time. I will easily say I liked it a heck of a lot more than I liked the original.
Cool.
Definitely had a much tighter story, much more fun puppet mayhem in this one, but enough to make me go, I want to watch the rest of them.
Cool.
I did watch, uh, because Dead Meat is doing a wonderful thing of announcing what his next kill counts are going to be. I finally sat down and watched Mr. Crockett.
Oh, I've not seen it.
Yeah, it's a Hulu exclusive actually, and it's one of those ones about a demonic children's TV host.
Okay.
Uh, you can tell that they're trying to set up Mr. Crockett to be like a Freddy Krueger level villain, and to be dead honest, it makes me sad that he didn't take off because Mr. Crockett's actually legitimately freaky. He's actually a freaky character, and he
Cool.
actually has a fat.
I do
Huh?
have Hulu, so I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Yeah, he's a character who has a very fascinating backstory. He's a children's TV host, and from the eyes of the public, it seems like he was a pervert, where he, kidnapped one of the kids from his show, and then the cops busted in, and but it turns out, but there's a whole other revelation about this character. It's in a way it's the things that they alluded to doing to Freddy Krueger in the remake
Hmm.
they that they should have committed to. They
Yeah.
actually do here in Mr. Crockett, and it works great. But I will say the
Okay.
main actor who plays Mr. Crockett, holy shit, his performance is chilling.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think my only downside with the movie is that you can sense the production value was kind of getting a little big for britches by the very
Mhm.
end. So the ending feels a tad rushed, but
Gotcha.
it's still one that I wish that did well enough that I wish that there was a franchise because I'd love to see more Mr. Crockett.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So for everyone else, stay tuned. We will be actually stay tuned. Pride Month will be kicking off soon with our commentaries on Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And actually Friday the 13th will pass, so Friday the 13th Part 2 will be airing in that month. But then we're going to be doing episodes on the Tubi original Slay, which I believe I told you about that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe we were thinking of Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker to wrap it up, but I think when I bring Natalie over, we were going to talk about something else. But anyway, but we'll figure it out. But then, of course, When Animals Attack month after that, with a great cacophony of Nature Strikes Back movies. So yeah, all right. I can't think of anything else to say. You have a grand old time. Love of God. Vet your dentist. Um,
Don't chase
yeah.
birds in the park.
Don't chase birds in the park. Don't, do not smoke while driving.
Don't do
And
cocaine on the freeway.
don't do cocaine on the freeway. And love of God, do not put the fucking lid on your coffee.
Put the lid on your coffee, people.
God damn it. All right. And if you wish to delve into the dark bowels of human imagination, ask yourself the simple question, what's in the podcast?
Thank you for joining us on this edition of What's in the Podcast. If you find yourself hungry for more deep cuts into the gloriously morbid and macabre, you can also find us on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Narcotic Casserole. You can also follow us on Instagram at Narcotic Casserole 25. Follow us if you dare.